Hi everybody, welcome back to the Press Gang Restaurant and Oyster Bar here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. We're gonna play with three of my favorite things in the world: sugar, coffee, and chocolate. We're gonna make flourless chocolate espresso cake. We're gonna make these cool little sugar tables, and I'm gonna go through making some spun sugar as well, some candy floss. First thing we're gonna do is start with the sugar. It takes a little while to get this to where we need it to go. We actually have to bring it to a boil and cook it until it gets to 333 degrees Fahrenheit. This stuff gets so hot that if you touch it when it's hot like that, you don't get a burn, you get a melt. This is our iso malt. It's a very coarse sugar. It's actually a derivative of beets instead of cane sugar. I could make these designs and such and decorations out of the cane sugar, but then once it hits heat and humidity, it turns back into a puddle. The chemical difference in this stuff allows it to hang out in the heat and humidity, and the designs and the garnishes stay the way I want them to. We're gonna go ahead and add that iso malt to the pot. We're gonna take some water, and we just want enough water in there to make it so that it's got the consistency of wet sand. We're gonna put that on the stove. I'm gonna turn the heat down just a little bit. I don't want those flames licking up around the side of the pot, or it'll tend to burn the sugar around the upper parts of the wall of the pot. So we're just gonna let that hang out there. Let's make the batter for the cake. We have our pot on the stove here. I've got some coffee, some brown sugar, butter, chocolate, and Kahlua. So we're gonna take this chocolate, we wanna melt that chocolate so that we can pour it into the batter and incorporate it a little later. Once the water's boiling and you put that bowl on top, it's gonna trap all that steam in there and trap all that heat, so it'll melt the chocolate at a nice soft heat. I turned it down. Again, I don't want the flames licking up the side, because then they'll hit the bowl here and it'll burn the chocolate around the edge of the bowl. In my pot here, we're gonna add the butter, brown sugar, fresh brewed espresso, and some Kahlua. I'm gonna bring that up to boil, get it all melted and incorporated together. We're gonna crack some eggs, and we wanna whip these eggs so they're nice and smooth. I'm gonna use this handy dandy little guy. Check out our coffee mixture here. We'll swirl our sugar. When you're playing with sugar and water, you always wanna swirl it. Don't stir it with anything. You just stir it, it has a chance to crystallize. Okay, we'll look over our chocolate here. Make sure it's melting all nice and evenly. We want the sugar to have the amount of time to cook properly. If the heat's too high, the water is gonna evaporate off too quickly, and then you risk the chance of burning the sugar before it gets to the temperature it needs to get. Coffee mixture is starting to come together here. This will come up to a boil. We're going to reduce the heat once it boils and simmer it. You want to watch this too while you're doing this. All that butter mixed in with that, when it starts to boil, the air is going to get trapped in there and it'll foam up and boil right over the pot. Once we get there, we'll give it a stir. We're going to drop the heat down a little bit. Perfect. Our chocolate, nice and silky, smooth. Just going to pour that chocolate into our coffee mixture. We want to use a rubber spatula and scrape all that chocolate off the bowl. Make sure we get every little bit that we can. Then take your spatula and just sort of move it around in there and make sure that chocolate gets incorporated into the mixture. We're going to look for this to become nice and glossy and shiny. It's going to thicken up slightly. Our whipped eggs that we had, we're going to incorporate those, but you want to keep this in motion as you incorporate it. You don't want to pour the eggs all in at one time and let it sit there. You'll end up with scrambled eggs in your chocolate sauce. In a nice, slow, steady stream, and that is our flourless chocolate cake batter. Now we're going to take that and transfer it into this measuring cup. So I've got this silicone muffin pan. It's perfect for cooking these guys. Right? We're just going to pour it in just below the rim a little bit there. We're going to take this, put it into a 375, 400 degree oven, 25, 30 minutes. And then we'll bring those out after that, put it in the fridge, let them set, and we're ready to play. Let's check on that sugar. Ideally, you want to use a candy thermometer. If you don't have a candy thermometer, a probe thermometer will work. You just want to make sure that your thermometer is rated for 400 plus degrees. And we're at 330 degrees. We're pretty good. We actually want to set that off and let it cool. The state that it's in now, it's very hot and it's very loose and liquidy. In order to do the designs that I want to do, it actually has to cool for a little bit. The sugar is going to thicken and then it'll be able to take on the designs that I want to do. So we'll give that about 5 minutes or so. Our sugar has rested. We're right where we need to be. Let's play. These silicone pans that we use to cook the cakes in, they're very versatile. Flip it upside down. Now it's a mold to make tables. And we want to have enough sugar so that the legs are going to drop down and cascade down the side like that. While I've got the sugar hot where I want it, we're going to make some candy floss. So I've got these wooden spoons set up underneath a weighted down pan. You want to make sure that they're nice and sturdy so they're not going to flop around anywhere. We're going to take this molten sugar that we have, let it pour off the spoon a little bit, and then just sort of flick it over the spoons. It's going to grab a hold of the spoon, and then as it drops to the ground, it's going to set nice, shiny, golden floss. Reach down, take that off, and we got a cool little ball of spun sugar. I'll check on those cakes. We'll get them out of the oven to cool down, and then we'll be ready to put this all together and make an absolutely beautiful dessert. All right, guys, our flourless cake is cooled. It's set perfectly. We got our sugar table. That's hardened where it needs to be. It came off really nice. Let's put this all together on a plate. So we're going to take strawberry, cut it down into quarters. Our blueberries, I like to slice those in half as well. Use a nice colorful plate. A little bit of creme anglaise. We'll put that right in the center of the plate. Smooth it out a little bit, make a nice circle. I'm going to border that circle with a blueberry coulis. We'll come inside that circle with a raspberry coulis, and we're just going to make a little design, make a bit of a starburst. We'll take our sugar table that formed up nicely, our flourless chocolate cake on top of that. We'll arrange some nice fresh cut berries, and we'll top with one of our spun sugar. Flourless chocolate espresso cake on a sugar table, fresh berries, creme anglaise, some fruit coulis, and spun sugar. That is beautiful. Let's eat.